The mayhem continues as we enter the Super 16 here at Heroes of the Dorm 2016. We're broadcasting live from ESPN's Wide World of Sports on Watch ESPN, YouTube, and Twitch. Who will be the collegiate teams that will advance to the Epic 8? You're not going to want to miss a minute of today's action.
Alrighty guys, welcome back here to Heroes of the Dorm round of 16.
That's right, my name is Cloaken. I'm joined by the most SolidJake Kulinski, and we have been on a train out of control today in terms of these matches. They're going so fast. There is so much chaos going on in these games.
I hope we don't crash because this has actually just been pure chaos. Like, these teams are busting out their absolute top level play. And Boston College, UTA, both of them, so very strong in the first half of the day.
Steamrolling for sure. All right, well, Jake, let's talk a little bit about how we've gotten to where we are this far. Give us a quick overview of Heroes of the Dorm and where we're headed.
Alrighty guys, well, let's take a look at the competition overview. It all began with the online qualifiers back this February where nearly 500 teams registered to play in this competition. We now have our 64-man bracket, which is single elimination that we are currently going through, and this will help us determine our Heroic 4, happening live in Seattle, Washington on April 9th and 10th.
Yep, and here we are, Super 16. We've gone through multiple rounds thus far in this tournament, and of course, we have whittled down to some of the best. There you see the two teams that have played already this morning, UT Arlington versus Carleton. UT Arlington advanced, and then Boston College versus Johns Hopkins. We just saw them wreck face.
Yeah, 2-0s.
As well, yeah, both 2-0s. So we're seeing the best teams here now, Jake. We've basically whittled down to some of our finest, and they are very, very strong. We're in for some great action today.
Oh, we certainly are, and the action isn't stopping at all yet, my friends. But of course, we have to tell you exactly what we're talking about. This is going to be, Heroes of the Storm. So let's take a look at a video. What is Heroes of the Storm?
Welcome to Heroes of the Storm, Blizzard Entertainment's action-packed team brawler. Players can choose from a variety of Blizzard heroes, each with unique strengths and weaknesses, to create 5-player team compositions that support versatile strategies.
None shall stop us.
These strategies are then put to the test on a diverse set of battlegrounds, each with their own legendary objectives. Control a powerful Dragon Knight, or tip the balance in an eternal conflict between immortals. Each battleground is different and presents a new environment for competition. However, the criteria for victory is constant. Destroy the opposing team's core. Heroes will grow in power and talent over the course of a single game as they take out minions, enemy fortifications, and the opposing team's heroes. How your team chooses to individually talent their heroes will fuel the strategy you use to address the battleground objective while working to counter the opposing team. Your effectiveness at team coordination and collaborative play will be the ultimate key to victory.
So as you can see, a game all about coordination, collaboration, communication, the C words that we all know and love. And of course, if you're out there and you're not as familiar with Heroes of the Storm, we welcome you here today. We're so excited you're here with us. Maybe you're a fan of one of the teams, you're supporting your school, maybe you're a family member. Jake and I are going to be doing our best to bring you along with us on this ride. It's a really, really fun game to be watching. And of course, we're glad you're here with us. But let's turn our attention to the match at hand.
Oh, man.
UC Irvine versus Washington University. This is the grudge match, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, last season and beyond, I mean, even in other collegiate esports, these teams have a bit of a rivalry, and it's becoming probably one of the biggest stories in the entire competition. Not only do the teams themselves have rivalries, but they have coaches that are actually kind of lending themselves and have a bit of a history with them on top of that.
Yeah, so just to dive into that a little bit deeper, UC Irvine dropped out to Washington in Heroes of the Dorm last year, this exact same round, this exact same scenario. And like you said, these guys on UC Irvine, we're looking at their roster here right now, captained by proteges, but in the background sits their coach, Mistax, who was on the team last year. He's coaching them, basically fueling their rage, their anger, as they go into this match against Washington. But, solid play by them. Of course, proteges is sort of their star. The team seems best to strategize around him, create opportunities for him as ranged assassin or just assassin dealer to deal the damage they need to get the upper hand in these team fights. And of course, we saw those games against Illinois where they kind of capitalized on a lot of Illinois' mistakes, and just with solid team play, coordinated heroic use, were able to take the win over them 2-1. So, but you know, on the Washington side, I mean, just an equally fearsome and strong opponent here. Talk to us a little bit about their team.
Yeah, of course, University of Washington. These guys are, many powerhouses involved there, and Kawhi Rice, their coach, has been lending so much insight to that team. I mean, not only do they have Kawhi Rice, they've got a pair of coaches, Cloaken.
That's right, they do. They absolutely do. They've got so much support coming from behind, but then again, their mechanics and their play is solid. iShiny on the left, he is the captain of this team, and again, we have an aggressive assassin there who is very skilled mechanically, and we saw some incredibly smart play. You know, he was on Greymane in these games against Texas Tech, and he just knew exactly how to get the most. Watch him. He bails out at the bottom of this fight, heads over and goes in for the surprising flank. Go for the throat. Greymane for the win. Takedown after takedown. These guys know exactly how to get the most out of their heroes in these team fight scenarios, and basically maximize their positioning, their timing. All of it seems to be on point, and they're gunning for the Heroic Four. They want to go to Seattle. You know what, Jake? They're the hometown.
Yeah. So, we actually got to talk with the team. Not only are they the hometown, but they've actually said this puts a lot of additional pressure on them because their classmates, the school in general, they're so anxious for them to succeed so that they can go and cheer for them at their home turf. So actually, instead of celebrating on spring break and going out and having a good time and, doing what the average student would do, they're training about 12 hours a day right now during their time off to really prepare for this matchup. And they are coming into this with, this ball of passion and energy.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to talk a little bit about weaknesses here, we know that on the UC Irvine side, they're focusing on the draft. That is their strength.
Right.
But sometimes their objective play could use a little bit of work.
For sure.
And on the Washington side, they think that they are the strongest team fighting crew in this tournament. They believe that is their strength. And likewise, we've seen them struggle with focusing on objectives. So we're having two really strong team fighting crews.
But same style, yeah. Same styles colliding here. And it's going to be really interesting to see exactly how the drafts pan out when they're going to be fighting for the same type of heroes. Like if they're preferencing the ability to just dismantle your enemy team with heavy initiations or whatever, the draft is going to be, kind of just about getting those comfort picks over your opponents.
Yeah, someone's going to have to flex. Someone's going to have to push another agenda here in order to counter the other team, or we're just going to see full-on bloodbath, which is exciting either way. Let's jump into the draft and check out exactly how these teams are going to execute strategy. Game 1 is going to be on Tomb of the Spider Queen, one of our smallest, most intense early game team fighting maps, so maybe a prime arena for these two teams to go head-to-head. We see bans coming in. Washington choosing to ban out Falstad right out of the gate, and then Irvine going for that Tassadar ban. Interesting choice. We have seen Tassadar play out of Washington before, but I wouldn't say it's been one of their most prioritized heroes. We've certainly, maybe there's a reason there for that ban based on the comp that they're trying to build.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of vision, just a very safe hero in general, and if you're worried about rotations, Tassadar is just such a safe pick. So this is UC Irvine saying maybe they want to go for more of a rotation style, and denying Tassadar is denying safety. But the Zagara pickup is a phenomenal response. Zagara will provide a ton of vision and control, especially as that solo laner in the bottom lane. But the Greymane response here, really hot right out of the gates here, and going for heavy damage.
Yeah, not a bad choice by Irvine at all. I mean, we saw iShiny. This is his preferred hero by far. I think we've got him playing this hero 9 times in the tournament up to this point. So it is clearly iShiny's favorite hero. Very smart idea by them to pull him from the option list for Washington. So I think that's a good move. They'll be able to put, one of their other heroes, I think probably Mockingjay tends to be their melee assassin, so they'll probably put him on there, and then maybe put Proteges on a ranged assassin somewhere later in the draft. We see them backing Greymane up with Murden. We've seen this pairing a lot this tournament. Very solid, great frontliner, tons of control with the Stormbolt, and of course his ability to get in and out of fights with Dwarf Twas.
So beautiful. I love it. All right, so it's actually really smart though, because right now they've set themselves up for this powerful rotation style, and they make Tyrande a huge threat. Washington, although they have a really well-rounded comp, they're dominating their abilities to actually just have the strongest laners and rotations. Johanna's phenomenal for Tomb of the Spider Queen, because when you get Night Take Spawn, she's so good at not only being the piggy bank holding all those gems, but for quickly rotating between the lanes. Rhaegar are going to be banned out here because UC Irvine, they're definitely looking at Tyrande as their pick for support. But Washington, do they ban Tyrande or do they ban Zul? No, it's going to be Li Ming.
Li Ming, they saw Proteges play Li Ming and get so much value out of her in their games. It is his favorite hero as well. I believe he's played that hero the most. Between Jaina and Li Ming, he's got about 5 games on each of those heroes, so those are certainly his preferred damage dealers. So we're seeing some nice awareness of their opponents in these picks, I think.
Uther, I really did not expect that, but of course, Divine Shield on the Greymane, and we have seen a fair bit of Uther play on this team.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see the build we saw in that last game.
I don't think we're going to see the
Divine
D-Storm. That was cool, though. Really nice to see that, hear that sound effect. Shing! Again.
The level 20 is so powerful.
I know, I've missed that so much. But yeah, Uther, solid single hero sustained. I'm sure he has some multi-hero support with his some of his other abilities, but he's really focused on single target healing. And of course, he's picking up Jaina as his ranged assassin.
Interesting.
Pick. We knew that is his alternate pick. If Li Ming's not available, Proteges likes to go to Jaina, so we're going to be seeing him do that. Jaina provides so much burst damage, so much control.
Yeah,
good choice.
Definitely his top picks hero. All right, we'll see how it all works out for them. I mean, definitely, they're getting a lot of their comfort picks, and that seems to be really what they're going for here. Now, Lunar, also a very powerful player. We'll probably be seeing Oshoyu playing Lunar in this situation.
Right.
And we've seen his ability to just have that late game presence, especially with the massive AoE output, the area of effect damage he has with a Thornwood Vine. It just starts to rip through the enemy team. And it's also a great response to Uther. So since Uther is really just a single, target healer, he's in the late game, he struggles so much with keeping up with her damage.
Yep, and on the Washington side, Terror on Karazim, not exactly a comfort pick for him. We have seen him play Karazim in the tournament thus far, but it hasn't been his most favorite hero. Of course, Rhaegar and even Malfurion tend to be higher picks for him, but Karazim's had a lot of success in this tournament thus far, and I'm sure will work well for them. And then, yeah, Sonya.
Again, this is full-on aggression out of them. They have that big backline control. Jaina's great for the burst damage, but she also provides the slow on everything. And when you enable your 2 melees, Greymane and Sonya, to go into that full-on just ham status where they're just diving in and doing as much damage as humanly possible, she's just a great enabler to get them their maximum potential.
So, Jake, when I look at these 2 drafts, I see complete control out of Washington. They've got Maw. They've got Sundering. They've got incredible wave clear with Johanna. Support coming from Karazim. And then, like you said, the AoE damage and support from the poison out of Lunara. I mean, versus burst and kind of damage dealing, kind of more of a damage dealing team fighting comp out of them. I don't know. Is this Washington saying, hey, we're going to play the objectives on this game? We might not have the most shiny team fights, but we're going to be able to basically control you with these heroics that we have and dominate this map.
I think so.
On a map like Tomb of the Spider Queen, being able to control those turn-in points is such a big deal. We saw it already this morning. Yeah.
I definitely think you nailed it. I think that's exactly what they're going for, but there's this huge burden on Lunara staying alive. Now, her trait is actually additional movement speed, so she can get out of a lot of dicey scenarios, but if she's ever rotated on and caught by a Storm Bolt or caught by a Hammer of Justice and blown up, it's going to cost them a lot because she is so critical for this team to be able to fight because she needs to stay alive for a long period of time.
Well, let's waste no more time. We're going to jump into this game. Tomb of the Spider Queen, game 1 in all of our matches this point on. So let's take a look at exactly how these teams choose to execute strategy. And here we are. Looking at the blue team, UC Irvine Zot Boys, Proteges on Jaina, Bloody on Murden, Mockingjay with Sonya, I Like Pie on Uther, and Why Hero there on Greymane.
Oh, what a fantastic name. Yeah. Their opponents, Washington Hot Dogs, with Eye Shiny on Thrall. Terra going to be playing Karazim. Oshoyu going to be on Lunara, and his brother Oshogun on Johanna. Last but not least, we have Sharsnake playing the Zagara.
All right, so these teams, the grudge match. How is it going to start and how will it finish? We're going to find out very shortly, of course. Head on over to Twitter, use the hashtag Heroes of the Dorm, and vote for your favorite team. Either hashtag UCI, vote UCI, or hashtag vote UW. We will check the results of that poll later on in this game. And like I said, Jake, I really feel like the map control is going to Washington here, and of course the wave clear, all of that. We'll see exactly how it plays out as these teams settle into this early game. Talent pick wise, everything looks pretty standard at this point. And so,
yeah, pretty much what you would expect. Like we said, you know, Knight takes pawn on Johanna is a classic here in this matchup to be able to have that incredible lane clear and quickly rotate between the lanes and be that piggy bank for the gems. So we'll see that throughout the game. And then we'll see these really strong solo laners in the bottom. But again, that's definitely going to be in favor of the side of Washington. Considering they have both Zagara and Thrall, they have all these options for very strong solo laners, but also vision with the creep tumors. And it's going to be a little bit on, you know, heroes like Sonya to kind of make sure they don't push those lanes out and dominate it too convincingly.
Yep, for sure. And here we see the power of Johanna. She is not worried about wading into these teams at all. Of course, in this early game, not a ton of burst potential out of these teams. Usually you need to combine your damage with a stun or some kind of control, combined aggression on a single hero. So we see these teams kind of poking at each other. But what really will count is these two center turn-in points as these gem counts rack up. In the bottom right-hand corner, you can see the number of gems on each team's sort of bank, so to speak.
Yep.
And as they get closer and as they can turn those in to 50 counts in the turn-in points in the middle of the map, they will control the web weavers, the map objective that will help push the lanes against their opponents.
Yeah, there's a ton of strategy when it comes to the gems. You can opt to try to hold on to the gems as long as possible because destroying the early fortifications and saving those web weavers when, you know, those front walls are down can be a very beneficial way to get more value out of it. But at the same time, it's an inherent risk for holding on to this large bank of gems because if you die while holding them, you can actually completely lose them. Now, the enemies cannot steal them like the doubloons of Blackheart, but it's still, you know, a risky thing to do.
Yeah, it can be a tough scenario indeed, especially if you need to engage in a team fight, but you have a bunch of gems. It kind of like puts this fear in the back of your head where it's like you don't have the confidence you need to play aggressively. And there are points in this game where you absolutely need to turn the aggression on and take advantage of power spike windows. So here we see just zoning out here right now on the part of Washington against Irvine on these turn-in points. We're going to be seeing that all game, you know, goaltending, so to speak, where we're going to watch each other try to block the turn-in points. Here's another engagement here in the mid lane, just some damage. And again, we're watching these roaming four-man teams pick up experience between the top and mid lane. This is going to be the story all game. How quickly can they get experience and rotate between these lanes and control the turn-ins?
Yeah, I mean, we're already starting to see that just, you know, the strong pressure from Zagara Lunar in the backline be a little bit of an issue. Like, Uther can't keep everyone topped off at all times. And this is something that other supports would, you know, fare far better in these kind of situations. That's only going to get worse as the game progresses.
Yep, absolutely. And here we see 44 gems on the side of Irvine. They are higher in the gem count with 17 on the side of Washington. With 30 turned in actually already, so Washington's already got gems in the bank and moving ever closer towards web weavers on this first spawn.
It's a pretty standard build so far in this game. I do like the fact that Protojays is actually going a full-on snowstorm build. Just going to have more radius on that blizzard when it crashes down. And that's not only good for the lane clear, as you can see, it hits every single minion in the lane, but when it comes to some of these clumped up fights, it's really going to chunk through them.
Yep, absolutely. Still just a lot of poke. Here we see Irvine creeping up on the 50 count. They're at 43 turn-ins, and Washington sits at 36, but with a pretty sizable bank on their gems.
Yeah, they've got enough for the full turn-in. If they can actually just get Thrall and Eye Shining, would be able to get a full-on turn-in on the side of Washington, which would be a big deal. Give them that momentum towards level 10. And if they can remove at least, you know, 4 towers, potentially more than that, it's going to set them up nicely. But actually, the reversal, the full 50.
The full 50 goes to Irvine. They will recruit the first web weavers, and this is just going to begin to put that lane pressure on Washington. They will need to sort of split their forces or move as a unit to clean out these web weavers as quickly as possible and then get back on controlling the map. So this is an interesting battleground because these web weavers just continue to add pressure, and also the further they push out, the more control you have over those turn-in points. So it's very important to not fall behind in the early game. And here we see Irvine deciding to push in this bottom lane, pick up these towers, and get some experience out of this front wall.
Yeah, I like this a lot. I mean, the bottom lane is always one of the better lanes to push, considering the mercenary camps that exist there. You have this additional, like, momentum you can gain later on if you decide that you can grab that merc camp. They have to respond to it immediately. But on top of that, I mean, they can easily rotate up the top. Although that's been cleaned up, the enemy team has to respond to that top lane, and they're keeping their presence here in mid. So they're really just maximizing a good chunk of the damage. They'll get at least the 4 towers that we talked about, and it's going to set them up nicely to get level 10 first.
Yep, absolutely. That is a very big advantage for them in this early game. Of course, level 10, huge power spike for these teams. If you're not familiar, level 10 is when our heroes grab their heroic abilities. Very, very powerful and controlling abilities that have a huge effect on team fights. And the first team to get there usually has a good window of opportunity to control whatever is happening on the battleground.
Yeah. All right, but we do have to remember that Washington does have, plenty of gems to turn in. They've got far more than enough, and it will be a while before we see UC Irvine having the sufficient gems for a full turn-in to summon those web weavers once more. Washington doing their best to mount a position around that. We do see Oshogun trying to turn in, but a nice Frostbolt interrupted at the last moment. Even Gillyweed Cocktail was spent, though. A bit of a mistiming using both those abilities at once, and it's going to be a little bit harder to stall out. And they have to be a little bit more aggressive in these moments.
Yep, so control over the turn point, we're already seeing it. We see Irvine pick up their Merc camps, adding even more pressure in that mid lane. These heroes are starting to gain power. We're going to see more aggression coming out of both of these teams, looking for pickoffs, looking for heroes who are out of position. Right now, Proteges and I Like Pie moving in on Thrall. Nice play by him just to back away. He can still soak experience without pushing team fights like that. So here we see a turn in for Washington, and they're going to get some counter aggression going in their favor.
All right,
so Proteges falling. He gets taken out. Now, here we see the team fights. It's a 4-on-5 scenario here in favor of Washington. That is a really nice pickup for them, making them confident to continue to push their aggression even further.
A little bit out of position there, and that's actually a big deal right as the web weavers are spawning. So Jaina, one of their primary forms of lane clear, not going to be here at the start of this, and this is going to give a lot of additional value to Washington. And on top of that, this is 100% going to enable Washington to have their heroic abilities first, so they can look to really propel this turn-in so much further forward than we saw in UC Irvine.
Yeah, that's a really good point. This is actually, though it will look very similar to what we saw with Irvine, this is actually more meaningful for them. They're going to be getting the bigger power spike, an advantage with this wave. So that works really well for them and sets them up super well for the mid game. And there we see the heroic selections coming in. We have Divine Palm coming for Karazim, and then pretty standard picks with the Maw, the Blessed Shield, Thornwood Vine, and Sunlight for Thrall.
So Thornwood Vine paired with Nature's Calling at level 7 here on Lunara is just going to make her an absolute monster when it comes to dealing with the opponent's side of web weavers. And this is one of the reasons why she's so good in this situation. Not only is she good for dealing with the enemy team's objective, but she's so good at dealing with the healing of Uther. So I'm really pumped to see how this all pans out.
Yes, indeed. We're about 13 minutes before the opportunity to make another turn-in and recruit more web weavers comes into play. That objective will turn on. And here we see Washington flirting with the boss. Not necessarily an ideal timing for that. I wonder, is this a bait by them? I mean, could they really be going all in on
honestly, they have so much creep spread up here. This is such a beautiful call.
Yeah,
they have complete and total vision. If they had to back away, they'd be happy to do that. But they saw that, UC Irvine wasn't willing to contest by passing through all that creep spread. They were worried about a potential ambush. The boss is picked up, and they're initiating with a beautiful Sundering on Greymane.
Absolutely. Nice counter by Irvine to try to get the turn in, but there's the Maw. Not controlling heroes there, but I think it did catch the water elemental out. It did get Uther. Healing coming out by him now on Mockingjay, who's falling very low. You see the poison damage from Lunara just starting to take its toll. And oh man, they are really falling low on health here on the Irvine side. Washington looking very strong. Oshogun
look at that Lunara. He's just going in on Mockingjay, ruining his day. And that is a beautiful kill. The moment you neglect her presence, she just shreds you.
Absolutely. And we did see Irvine, like we said, trying to control or trying to get the opportunity of turning in their gems at the web weavers, but it was just the clutch timing there by Washington. They were able to stop it before they could even capitalize.
Oh my goodness, we went from having a dead even game to Washington sitting in a huge position. The boss took out the entire keep wall, and that is a huge deal here in Tomb.
And absolutely, and here you see them taking advantage even on top of that to get even more turn-ins. That will get them in their second wave of web weavers pushing even further.
Well, we've been seeing Osho, you play like a boss all game. This Lunara pick has been working wonderfully. The whole on Nature's Calling with Thornwood Vine, you saw that power spike in this player's capability in both, the team fights and, of course, pushing out those lanes. And here he is marching in with the next summon of the Web Weavers.
Yeah, that was a cool shot. I like those close-ups. Very, very good. Okay, so we have a, two fort advantage here in favor of Washington. They have more map control, and this is where we gotta see Irvine fight back. They cannot get too far behind in this scenario, because the further these waves push, the less control they're gonna have over those turn-in points. It gets just harder and harder. The hill gets steeper and steeper to climb for them to get back into this game.
Now they're in another talent tier disadvantage. They're losing another fort. All three forts have now been eliminated. And that makes things a lot tougher, because not only are you behind in a talent tier, but you are so far behind in vision. So you've got wisps, you've got creep tumors, and you've lost 3 forts.
Yeah, the creep tumors cannot be understated. Their value at keeping an eye on where those positions are. In fact, that, like you said, that is what gave them the confidence to go for that boss right after getting their heroics in the mid game.
Okay, well, they're just mounting a nice bit of pressure here. Don't think they're going to dive on that keep. It's a little bit too risky, unnecessary risk at that. But they've taken up the keep wall. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that the fact that the keep towers will give you 1,300 experience.
Yeah,
and that's more than an actual fort. So it's very impactful, but they're actually getting very aggressive here.
Yeah, I know. I think the smart move would be to back away, and here we see them doing just that. They do not want to give away the advantages that are starting to pile in their favor right now. The best choice would be to hold on to those, continue to play the objectives, collect your gems, get your turn-ins, control the map where you can. And here we see Irvine just trying to get back into the experience collection here, back in the mid lane, gathering experience, waiting for that next turn-in opportunity. They have to maintain control over some of those turn-in points or they will lose their grasp on this objective. Here we see, nice job.
This is a big deal.
Yep.
They need to ride this into level 13, get themselves on that even talent footing, and try to take out at least 2 of these forts. If they can do that, they're back in this game. But we see the initiation attempted, and Sundering does get stunned out. That is huge there.
Yeah. That was absolutely huge to get that stun on. I mean, maybe that's fortuitous. They probably anticipated it as well, but I don't think he really had the timing to sense it quite like that. Usually you don't see Sundering get stunned out like that, but...
Yeah, it would have been a dead Jaina if it went off. So, you know, regardless of whether it was intended to stun it out or not, that's nice. 10-second cooldown, so Sundering is back in action. And we do see the top wave was already cleaned up, but level 13 has been reached, and now we'll see UC Irvine willing to take that fight.
Yep, absolutely. Nice defense here by Washington, trying to clear out these web weavers as quickly as possible. All of them are down, and they will be turning their eyes towards this team fight, it looks like, especially if Irvine decides to push the issue. And right now, they do seem cautious about it. There we see the Wisp by Lunara providing them vision, but the creep tumors are everywhere.
Protojays is so out of position. The Sundering to secure the kill and an immediate blow up there. Very unfortunate. That is not how they want to be doing this.
Yeah, that is not the right move. Protojays needs to be careful with his positioning. And this is just allowing Washington to just take total control.
Yeah,
Irvine
they are
on the retreat.
They're marching, man. Like, we talked about the fact that they needed to get at least 2 forts. They didn't get a single fort Cloaken, and now this bottom keep, which is already very low, is about to go down.
Yeah, and you know, losing forts is a big deal. It provides more opportunity to push further and deeper into the map and get onto those keeps. But losing keeps is personal, Jake. That's when the game starts feeling very real, because all of a sudden there is a pathway to your core, and of course, killing the core wins the game. So. Yeah, this is personal. I'm
so impressed with Washington. I was expecting this match to be completely dead even, but when it came to that mid game, as soon as they hit level 10, it just showed their comfort picks and everything. The way they drafted is working out so well for them. A 3-level lead right now is absolutely massive.
Yeah, and they're doing the right thing. You see them. The level lead is now, 3 levels as you mentioned, and they've just been able to creep up, push their advantage, continue to control. And at this point, this puts Irvine in almost a desperate scenario.
Yeah, it does.
They have to start making these desperate decisions, these desperate calls to go in, take team fights, try to get kills in what will possibly be unrealistic or unideal situations.
I mean, they need to look for a really unfavorable fight, and they can't even stop the turn-in. We see Murden get immediately blown up. The Blessed Shield on 3 with a Sundering follow-up on all 3. Absolutely devastating here by Washington.
Yeah, and you know, you almost sense the tension inside Irvine where they're like, we gotta take a fight, but we don't want to take a fight. The longer they wait like that, Murden's health is dropping and dropping and dropping, and then you get a scenario exactly like what we just saw. They cannot fight. They've lost Murden, they've lost their front line, and Washington sees the fear and goes in for the crushing blows.
Yeah, I mean, I know Greymane is on the side of UC Irvine, and he's the one that has go for the throat, but that's what we're going to see happen here. So you see them controlling all this vision. They have, like, with the creep spread, and they constantly are just waiting for someone to overstep their bounds. It happens to be Murden, the warrior. He can't escape. The double combo, the wombo of those 2 heroics to stun those heroes, and then just the follow-up, and now they're marching straight on in to the base of their opponents.
Yeah, this could be the death throes here for Irvine. 3 full levels down, Web Weavers in the favor of Washington, but here we see them deciding to turn and rotate to sort of simultaneously push with the top Web Weavers while Irvine addresses the mid lane. Irvine's got to do something to stop the bleeding here. So we're going to see another attempt at a team fight here by Irvine, but this is not an ideal scenario at all. Blotty's health already starting to get chipped away.
Yeah.
Of course, Uther doing his best to keep the Mountain King alive, and Washington giving a moment of reprieve to Irvine.
You know, I have to be a little bit critical of the Uther pick. And, you know, they had the option to go double support with that final pick as well. So I think if they picked Uther and then they saw the response of Lunara and they still went for something like Tyrande that still kind of works as like a pseudo damage but still supplements with a little bit more healing, their game would be going a lot better for them. But the Sony pick, I'm not sure if it's working out for them.
Oh man, we saw the Condemn, Sundering, Initiation, Bloody falling so low on the front line, and that's Murden. Usually you don't see him as the first kill target, but they have just been going all out full damage on Murden. Mockingjay falling low as well with Sonya. He is in a 1-on-3 scenario here right now. Protege's trying to do what he can with Jaina, but has to evacuate. And of course, Sonya falls as well. This is just the same story on repeat right now. Irvine in a bad
Look at Lunara's health. She has just a sliver.
Oh.
He gets away. I don't believe it, Cloaken.
That is bad. Insult to injury there, getting healed up by the Monk as well. They are pushing for this keep, and I don't know that Irvine can stop them. This is an opportunity for them to take an even further lead and even potentially push for the win. They got almost enough gems to turn in with a Web Weaver push following this, or they could turn their eyes towards the boss. The boss is available as well. It looks like they are going to potentially fall back and get a turn in, maybe pick up some mercs.
15-19, that's what I call fierce. Like, this is, you know, just full-on confidence out of Washington. We saw that early boss pick. They were willing to do it then. They're definitely willing to do it now.
Absolutely, and you know, being able to push with this boss, you got an open core right now, no keep standing in the way. That would spell doom and disaster for Irvine, but here they know it. They have to stop it. This is essentially the game for them right now if they can't stop this, and it's falling apart in their sight. This is rough.
Yeah, the control of Johanna Thrall, it's just showing its value every single fight. iShiny getting low, but sustaining through with his trait, and of course the heals of his ally, and that's 4 members down, just this Jaina remaining. Just kidding.
Psych! That's a full team wipe, Jake. That's what we call.
Absolute beautiful play by Washington.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to just march forward here. This is their victory march. No contest whatsoever in the late game. They just dominated the fights. Even if they were the ones being engaged upon, they knew exactly how to respond, that Johanna would calmly step forward, throw out that Condemn with the Bless Shield, and every single time we saw Bless Shield get a value cast, Sundering was there to secure the massive value. GG, game number 1 goes to Washington.
Absolutely. UC Irvine down a single game to Washington in this grudge match. This is the repeat match from last year's Heroes of the Dorm. Same round, same teams. Irvine still down. It's not over for them though, but I have to say, Jake, I think that game was one in the draft for Washington.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Such a strong draft by them on a battleground where every single hero that they had provided so much value.
It was scary.
Yeah, it was indeed.
And you know, we're really seeing that here in the round of 16. These top teams, they're busting out their strongest draft. So although their opponents have had ample time, a whole week to study their replays, you know, we know they went out of their way to try to hide their picks. But even with Greymane getting through, being that big comfort pick, it didn't really even matter.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we see fights happening around the 10-11 mark. And Washington, just same story all game, able to catch heroes out of position. This was the one on Proteges, catching Jaina out early, catching Murden in a bad scenario where he overextended. All of these little decisions become more and more crucial. There's no room to make mistakes like that as we move deeper into this tournament. Every small mistake is going to be capitalized by a team like Washington. They are smart players. Their draft was ridiculously strong on this battleground. I mean, even being able to win against that draft alone would have been a remarkable play for an evenly matched team. I think the question still remains, like, are these guys even evenly matched? We'll have to see.
I definitely think UC Irvine has what it takes, but they need your energy. So guys,
absolutely
channel your energy to UC Irvine if you root for them here, because I know they're a bit of a local to the Blizzard campus.
Absolutely, they're not far from us. They're in Irvine, California. We would love to see Irvine hang in there, get the hometown energy going for them. But we're not done yet. Game 2 is going to be right with you shortly. We're going to be on a real brief break. All of your information, here's thedorm.com. Check it out. We'll see you in a few brief minutes. Hello and welcome back to Heroes of the Dorm 2016. We're right in the middle of the grudge match. UC Irvine versus Washington University, a repeat match from last year's Heroes of the Dorm in the same round of 16. These guys, they want this bad, UC Irvine especially, and they must be trying to figure out how to mentally get back into this because they want this so bad. They want this win over Washington, but that first game was so dominant on the part of Washington.
And these 12-hour training sessions, 12 to 16 hour as they told us, from Washington, they're paying off, that's for sure, because we're seeing some absolutely brutal play and brilliant drafting out of them. That Lunara pick was, I can't talk about it enough. It was so crucial to that dominance.
Yep, and before we turn into Game 2, let's take a quick look at some of the statistics that we've pulled around our teams at a large. Arizona State with a 10% prediction to win and advance to the Heroic Four, followed up by Cal Berkeley, 8%. Look at these teams. These guys are monsters. The Tricky Turtles as well, 6% chance to win. This is all coming from your bracket challenge results. Yep. And there we see Washington at the bottom, 1% chance to win. But I mean, by their play thus far today, they're looking very, very strong.
Cloaken, how many points do you have in your bracket right now?
I think I was in the low 400s, which I was actually so excited about. I was worried because my C and D bracket just got wrecked.
I'm at 450.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm quite that good.
Tied with Gillyweed. I'll pass her this week, though. Don't worry.
Gilly, she's salty. She's standing there in the back. I see her. She's got a frown on her face. Oh, man. Well, of course, we're not done yet with this matchup. We've got Game 2, UC Irvine, Washington. This one's going to be on Towers of Doom. So a very, very different strategic battleground where team fighting is honestly, that's the story
name of the game, man.
Name of the game on this one.
Yeah, so Towers of Doom, it's a 3-lane map where the rules kind of change a bit. You cannot actually attack the core yourself. You need to channel these 4 altars that exist on the map, or grab the Headless Horseman. There's a few ways to damage the core. Primarily, it's all about controlling the objectives, whether it be the mercenary camps or the altars. You can see it will bombard their core, doing massive damage. 40 shots in total will eliminate their base, but you can see you don't want to try to go in there.
Yeah, that's like we call the dead man zone. And of course, those are the mercs that we saw get that win for Carleton in the round of 30.
So epic.
Yeah, that was really nuts. So controlling these towers, obviously a big part of this, but it's these altars that are the key story. If you can access the altar, the towers that you do have in your possession will bombard the core, and that is going to be your way to victory. That is your way to get damage on the core and take the win, essentially. Yeah. So let's take a look at a heat map. This map actually covering all of the action that we've seen to date on Towers of Doom. These are all kills and deaths that have happened on this battleground, and of course all of that in the majority of the center part of the battleground where we see all the team fighting take place around the altars. So this battleground is pure like mayhem.
It's so funny how you can see like a couple matches influence the game, though. I remember that top fight in the top right lane where we just saw an absolute throw fest happen.
Yeah.
And you know, it's really exciting having this heat map as part of it.
Yes, indeed. We love the heat maps, the stats in general this year. Here's the Dorm 2016. Money.
Yeah. But Cloaken, we got to highlight some of the top players that made that first game so very dominant on the side of Washington Hot Dogs. Of course, Shogun, one of the twins here, busting out that superior tank play. He is just so crisp when he is on any warrior, it seems.
Absolutely. He is brother to Oshoyu. Oshogun loves to play the tank characters. Oshoyu, assassin player that has just been having a ton of effect for their team. But of course, you can't underrate the value of family. These guys, they clearly know how to communicate well to one another, work together, especially in support of their other strong players on the team. But interesting, we see a lot of Rainer play out of Oshoyu. We haven't seen that today. Maybe we'll see a bit of that. But of course, the Lunara, we saw the value of that in the previous match. And then iShiny, this guy is the captain. And honestly, we've seen remarkable play. Greymane, his favored hero. So lots of play out of him on Greymane, which we saw banned out in the first game, but they could prioritize him here in the first one.
Well, he wasn't even banned out. He was sniped.
Oh, he was sniped. That's right.
Picked
Sorry.
Greymane because of how much they respect the threat there.
That's right.
So it's kind of like a ban where it's like you're saying, you know what, we can't let this team have that. So instead, they opted to first pick, but it didn't work for them. And I wouldn't be too surprised if we saw them actually ban him in this upcoming match.
That's actually a good point because they will have an opportunity to ban. So, yeah, we'll see how much they respect it in the draft. I think that might be a smart move indeed. So, as we talked about, if you're out there watching, this is a bit of a grudge match for these two teams. UC Irvine fell to Washington in the round of 16 last year. They've also fallen to Washington in a variety of other esport tournaments.
Collegiate esports.
Right. So, they're looking for redemption here. They're looking to get, I guess, some respect back. You know, they want to win. They want to take
this is bigger than just them, right? It's for the school. I mean, they're really fighting for their school itself to try to get that grudge in return to say, hey, look, you know, we're the champions. But also Washington, they have that added pressure of being the hometown team of the actual live finals.
Can you imagine that? Like
man.
having an event like Heroes of the Dorm in your backyard at your college, like
That's a dream.
Your friends are all able to come and support you. That is the dream, dude. That is. I mean, you saw how epic it was last year. Just to be able to have that in your backyard, have your friends, your family come and support you, especially in esports, which we all know is sort of a growing, kind of burgeoning thing for everybody. That is just remarkable and be really fun to watch. So, all right, let's turn to draft. This one for Towers of Doom. Let's see how these teams choose to execute strategy here. We're well underway thus far. Bans on Zeratul
Lost
and Falstad.
Vikings!
What?
Oh,
First pick,
girl.
too. That's interesting to show that right out of the gate.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Dude, this is actually really kind of awesome. Now, the Lost Vikings, really unique hero. It's 3 heroes in one, where basically you have Eric, Balog, and Olaf, and they're not all oafs, but they do have nice facial hair at the bare minimum. But they can basically split up across the map, can get your team so much additional experience, but on top of that, if you ever grab the Shamblers or the Sappers, excuse me, you can really push down the lanes super efficiently because they have Merklord, and you can also capture the altars two or three at a time in some scenarios.
I'm sitting here trying to think of what the strategy is with these heroes, because we know there's so much team fighting that takes place here. And of course, Longboat Raid, this is the heroic we see out of the Vikings that helps support them in these team fights. But you need to get full value out of this heroic. You have to have all 3 of your heroes together. So it's kind of this running tension. Do you keep your heroes separate or do you bring them together for team fights? It also kind of telegraphs when you're expecting the team fight. So it is a very difficult thing to strategize. But of course, they've shown their cards. They're going all in on Lost Vikings. And here we see Washington responding with just a really solid composition thus far. Thrall, Leeming, Zagara, heroes we've all seen just absolutely wrecking teams.
I'm a little surprised that we're not seeing Greymane early based on iShiny's priority on that hero.
But man, Leeming versus Vikings, she's essentially like that. Like Kid in the Candy Store style again. Like if she takes out one Viking, which we know low health pool on those guys, resets, and then it's just like
her trait resets literally all of her abilities.
Yeah.
Like if you guys aren't familiar with Leeming, every time she kills a single Viking, she's just spamming more, rave action at you.
Yeah, the arcane damage just raining down. So good counter pick by them against the Lost Vikings. We see Rhaegar being banned out here by UC Irvine against Washington. Talking more about Washington's picks thus far, Zagara on Towers of Doom. I mean, again, the value of Maw, the value of her vision with the creep tumors, it's all going to come into play here on this map. And of course, Thrall as well, his Sundering. I feel like that has been the heroic we've seen absolutely get the most value out in this entire tournament. I feel like that has turned fights.
It's such a strong initiation, and it changes so much in the dynamic of fights. You're right.
Or using it as a reactive, right? Like you get caught out, or a maul comes in from your opposing team, or a mosh pit from the opposing team. That's how you recover, right? You use the Sundering to kind of reset a little bit. So we've seen both full-on hard initiations coming from that heroic, as well as reactive regrouping happening.
Now, if you're at home and you're questioning the Zeratul ban, that's completely because of the Lost Vikings, right? They've actually kind of telestrated that when they banned Zeratul, that they wanted to get Vikings because of the fact that Zeratul doesn't show up on your minimap. He's always cloaked, he runs around, and he picks off your Vikings one at a time, and it's really, really hard to be, conscious of that Zeratul's presence, at all times.
Yep. Ban coming out here from Washington on Jaina. That's a smart move by them. They know Proteges favors Jaina. They already have Leeming, so they're basically saying, yo, dude, we've seen you play 2 heroes this whole tournament, Leeming and Jaina. What are you going to play if you don't have either? So that's going to be an interesting situation for them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's played a bit of Lunara, but he was already struggling, getting caught out of position a little bit in that last matchup. So putting him out of his comfort zone is like a really smart strategic thing to do, because they're already saying, look, that's a potential weak point in their team at this moment, and if we can abuse that and really just kind of hinder that one player, that has a huge impact on the game.
For sure, indeed. We'll see what Proteges goes to. Maybe he's looking now at a Vala or something similar in vein. Oftentimes we see Valo coming in if Jaina's not around, but we'll see. Of course, we're waiting on Irvine to make their next 2 selections. They've really shown their cards here. Typically a hero like Lost Vikings, you don't necessarily want to telegraph it out of the gate, like in your first pick.
Yeah,
usually it's smarter to leave it. Yeah, leave it to the end. Build what your opponents could look to see, a more standard composition, and then right at the end be like, "Ha ha, we got you with the Lost Vikings."
It seems a little desperate almost.
Yeah.
But Well, we'll see what they have to pair with this, because they could do some crazy kind of styles. Like, this is very much, if they lose this game, they are out of this tournament. So this is when you bust out your craziest, weirdest, most unpredictable styles of play. And we talked about Protojays maybe being potentially a little bit limited as to what he's comfortable with in this tournament. Going for probably going to be him there on Lunara in this situation.
Yeah, that's true. That could be him. We have seen him play Lunara once before, so it looks like that is a go-to for him. So Lunara for Protojays is probably the situation we have here. But yeah, wow, I'm still kind of in awe at this. Washington fully able to counter the draft strategy here by Irvine, given the early reveal of the Lost Vikings.
And the other crazy thing to point out is the fact that there's far more returning members on the side of Irvine. Washington just has iShiny as a returning member, so this is a little bit more of a rookie team here in Heroes of the Dorm in that regard, and they're not looking like it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I wonder if some of that coaching from these previous players is coming into play here. We know Washington had great success last year, and here's the Dorm. Strong play altogether. And then, just hearing the support of the people outside of their team that they've been given, not just by...
Kawhi Rice and Panucci.
Yeah, Panucci is ex-pro player. He had...
He was
he's actually
around
still playing
since
a little bit,
the absolute start of competitive Heroes of the Storm. He was playing in the earliest tournaments that I used to run from my living room.
Yeah.
And he's a super, super knowledgeable player, and his knowledge is definitely rubbed off in Washington.
Yeah, we know that those guys have been studying replays, but essentially being their scouts, doing a lot of the reconnaissance, so to speak, on these opposing teams. And, Washington looking very confident in their ability to assess situations, choose heroes, especially in the draft phase, that lend to their favor going into the gameplay. And, I don't know, this Lost Viking pick, though, is really kind of got both teams, it looks like, a little bit mystified as we see them taking the full time allotment.
They're like really, thinking this through. And again, this is such a big deal for them. They know this is their tournament life on the line. They want to make sure they get exactly what they want, and they're probably going through every single scenario. So what are we worried about? They've already got crazy initiation with Sundering and Maw and this control, and then Li Ming's going to do this massive follow-up to whatever they throw at us. So they've got to be thinking, do we want to go like a multi-warrior composition?
Supports from Brightwing, maybe? What's the best support here for their scenario?
I would almost say like Tassadar.
Yeah.
Because Tassadar is going to have those consistent quick shields, but if they went Tassadar Brightwing, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know about the Uther. This is almost like a get out of jail free card for Lunara, but it's not really a good pick for Divine Shield on the Lost Vikings or Muradin.
Yeah, interesting to see them still favoring the Uther in this situation. Washington, of course, now with the opportunity to respond, they will have 2 picks, and then Irvine their final pick. On the side of Washington, we still need a strong front line for them. Of course, we haven't seen any bans coming for Warriors here. Karazim going to be their pickup again on the support side. And then, basically the only option that has been taken from them on the Warriors side is Muradin. And here we see Johanna. That worked very well for them.
This is like a repeat of last game, but it's even scarier. I'd say this is like it doesn't even matter what UC Irvine gets. I think Washington absolutely 100% won the draft.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the comp that essentially worked for them last game with Li Ming as the exchange over the Lunara. And yeah, they have the resets, though, in their favor with the Lost Vikings. So, man, this is not looking well for Irvine.
But what do they have for that last pick? Obviously, with the first pick Vikings, they're doing something crazy. I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Do we see the Lost Vikings Abathur to try to just have this crazy omnipresent, push out, control the map style of play? That's not at all a common thing, but...
Yeah, when you've gone this far in, might as well go the distance, man. That would be really interesting to see for sure. For a while there, I was like, what if they did Lost Vikings Cho'Gall? That would be insane.
Oh, no.
That would be totally crazy. So we'll see exactly what they do, but we'll probably see another damage dealer here coming in the side of Irvine.
Yeah,
they have a variety of options.
I don't even know what to think anymore, man.
Yeah.
It could be a pseudo-support. Tyrande is a really good hero in general. You pair Tyrande with Muradin, it gives you this, this burst power, but also a ton of vision. Tyrande can interrupt the altars, which is great utility. Interrupting those altars can give ample time to stall that one altar while the Vikings capture another altar. And doing that sort of thing, maybe just strictly play the map objective. Maybe they've realized, maybe their team fighting isn't enough to go against Washington. So they have to focus on the objectives.
And it's interesting. I haven't seen them play Tyrande in this tournament yet, so which is kind of surprising. She's really such a powerful hero. Maybe they just aren't comfortable with her. They haven't spent time on it. And, that is something that can't be understated. I do feel like Washington is the team that's had the more time with this game, not just from their support and their coaching, but playing as well. We know UC Irvine's been more in a cram state, trying to practice and play together and learn the heroes, but it's quite possible they just don't have a hero pool where they're comfortable with playing on a hero like Tyrande. She's to get the most out of her, you have to have some solid skilled play.
She's execution for sure, right? Yeah. Knowing, when to throw out that Lunar Flare, when to get the biggest impact, having the coordination with your Muradin to get that the combo, the Miranda combo as we like to call it.
Yeah.
And it's tough. Well, they've got a few other options on the table. I mean, there's a lot of big assassins still here. Vala has been very popular, especially with Rain of Vengeance, and when they already have double stun, maybe they could do something crazy with Rain of Vengeance and Divine Storm and Stormbolt with Pierce. That sounds like pretty powerful, but the responses that exist are huge. And
Double Warrior. Wow.
The Stitch himself.
Yeah, the Stitch. Stitch is a strong hero around altars.
They have no damage.
Yeah.
They have Lunara.
Which is sort of sustained damage.
And Karazim will deal with it plenty of times, especially late game. Well, Stitch is a very powerful hero, of course. It's all about getting those hooks over the wall or even just in lane to pick a enemy hero out of place and be able to blow them up quickly. They do have the responses, Hammer of Justice and Stormbolt, so they're more than capable of making these kind of plays happen. And this Stitches should be speccing a little bit more of the Bruiser style, so a little bit more into the Slam, a little bit more into that trait, the Vile Gas, to maximize his capability as a damage dealer.
But they do lack the burst to fully get value out of that. So, they'll be able to lock heroes down, but can they clinch it? Can they take them out of the fight is the big question.
It's a big question, man.
And, we're going to find out exactly if they can sooner or later. But here we're seeing, though, repeated strong drafting coming out of Washington. And I'm not going to say that this strat isn't going to work for UC Irvine. We'll see, because you never want to underestimate the team, how much they've practiced a particular composition or how they could get the most out of their heroes. So, no doubt UC Irvine's practiced this. They're ready for it. They weren't afraid at all to show their cards in that first pick with Lost Vikings. So they could have a very strong situation here under their belt. We haven't seen it, but, we can't underrate it. Maybe it's going to work out for them.
Yeah, well, let's actually take a look at some of the players on the side of UC Irvine to see if they're, see what they can do to pull out in this last match. Now, again, this is their tournament life, so let's take a look at Protojays, who will likely be playing the Lunara in this matchup here in Towers of Doom. Now, Protojays is a really experienced player. I would say he struggled a little bit in that last game, and they've specifically gone out of their way to deny him his picks. They banned the Jaina, they banned the Li Ming, and this is them just saying that, look, we're a little bit afraid of what he's capable of doing, and he's going to be playing that Lunara in this matchup.
Well, they know he's their strongest player, right? So if they already feel like they have a leg up in the draft, but they can corner him into an uncomfortable situation, and the teams clearly in their games previous built their strategies around Protégé's effectiveness. So if they can just absolutely chop away at that as one of their key strengths, they're doing smart stuff right now.
Let's also take a look at Bloody here on the UC Irvine Zot boys. Bloody rocking those Warriors. I don't know if he'll be the one playing Stitches. I don't think so. Probably going to be on that Muradin in this matchup. And his Muradin has a 100% win rate, 1-0. Nice.
Yeah, that is nice. Yes, 100% win rates are always a wonderful thing, no matter what they statistically are equaling out to be. Always good to get the wins. So, okay, well, we have a Stitches Muradin combo on the side of UC Irvine versus what seems to be a dominant, lane composition, as well as just overall strength picks for Washington and these heroes. But here we'll have it on Towers of Doom. UC Irvine on the blue side, Protojays on that Lunara, Lottie, Muradin, Mockingjay on the Stitches. I like Pi with Uther and Waihiro there. The Lost Vikings. Can they get value out of the Vikings? We will find out shortly. And on the red side, Jake.
We've got the Washington Hot Dogs with Eyeshiny playing Thrall. Terra going to be on Karazim. Oshoyu on Li Ming and his brother Oshogun on Johanna. And last but not least, we've got Char Snick playing the Zagara. Very, very similar composition to the first game in this series.
Yes, indeed. Minus the Lunara, but plus the Li Ming, which again, we talked about it, Li Ming versus Vikings. It's essentially like providing Li Ming a battery pack.
All right, guys. Well, we want to hear from you. Tweet at using the hashtag Heroes of the Dorm and use hashtag Vote UCI or Vote UW as to who you think will advance in this match. And of course, you can tweet us all your pictures of the setup that you're watching the tournament with. We want to know exactly what your situation is because some people, they do some pretty cool setups, Cloaken.
Yeah.
Oh, no, Eric.
Already, Eric falling really low. Right there, you saw the health pool for Eric. Even in this early game, he can just be taken out so quickly. But as I was saying, I don't know if you use one of those battery packs on your cell phone where it's like the super battery pack.
Yeah.
I feel like right now there's the potential for Irvine to be just saying, hey, do you need one of these? You're Lunara. We know that you need battery life.
They're getting chunked. I think they do need that battery life because so much damage from Leeming right out of the gates. We see Thrall versus Eric, the lone Viking here in this bottom lane. iShiny, he's just waiting.
Yeah.
He is just sitting there saying, if you leave your base, and what he's doing right now, he's preventing Eric from actually getting experience.
Yeah,
and that's such a big deal. He doesn't want to clear the wave of minions because that would actually allow Eric to soak the experience.
Yes, indeed. It's a smart play by them to just zone that out. They know that Eric is not a threat in that lane. He can almost kind of turn his attention to the other lanes even. Watch how his team is succeeding. Mockingjay waiting in deep. Terra, though, taking some damage, able to get out with that dash. He is such a mobile support hero, Karazim, so not a lot of threat there.
Alrighty, well, we do have the first altar spawning too on the top portions of this battleground. And we're going to have to see exactly what kind of impact the Lost Viking picks can have here. Now, if we do see the entire side of Washington all go up to this top part of the lane, we're going to see the Vikings start to get a lot of additional experience on the side of UC Irvine. But it doesn't look like Thrall has any interest in doing so. Eric is just kind of lurking in the shadow. Oh, just as I say that, he does leave.
Yeah, that's right. And this is absolutely right. This is where they get their advantages right now. Can they keep the Vikings in lane, get experience over Washington and try to basically snowball level leads?
Baylog managed to channel that altar just barely as Johanna tried to step in there. So that is a nice small victory. Still one altar remaining, which should go to the side of Washington. So the altars are going to be traded out evenly while we have, you know, almost 2 full lanes of experience. Additional here going to UC Irvine in the bottom lane.
You know, it's quite possible that Hero there is just a beast on Vikings. Like, I mean, if he can micro these guys well, but almost getting caught out there using his sprint
quick
to get away. Yes, he is
so
a fast
ferocious.
one.
iShiny has actually chased Eric too far in the rotation of Blotty and Protojays. Will pick him off. Beautiful start here on the side of UC Irvine.
Yeah, they're doing it, man. This is the kind of play you want to see with the Vikings. They're doing a good job. It's a high hill to climb, but like I said, we can't root it out. They
masterful baits.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, here we see UC Irvine deciding to put some pressure on these towers, chasing Johanna behind the wall. She will not fall. She's way too strong for that. But if they can keep chipping away at those towers, it's going to work well for them. Terra deciding to pick up the top Merc camp. These sappers, if you really want to get true value out of them, you got to escort them all the way to the fortifications. They deal a ton of siege damage, and if they fall in lane, you kind of don't get to capitalize on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's we already see the experience is starting to trickle slightly in favor of UC Irvine. The Vikings will continue to have that added kind of value throughout the game. But we are seeing some relatively passive play. Baylog is just kind of lurking at the wall constantly in the top lane because of the presence of Zagara. These 2 strong solo laners, Zagara and Thrall, make it a lot more difficult for Vikings to get that true kind of impact unless the altars are present on the battleground.
Yeah, and we saw Terran Sharsnik in the top lane just escorting those mercenaries. I think they are going to be able to get them all the way without a lot of defense coming from Irvine right now.
Ring around the rosy, man. It's Eric just runs circles around people for days. He's actually the fastest hero in the game.
Did you see that chunk damage from Li Ming? Her arcane orbs are so damaging. Nice dodge there, but so much damage coming onto Terra. He's got to be careful. The monk doesn't have a huge health pool. He has to use his mobility to sort of stay safe, and he's doing an okay job at that. He has been caught out thus far once already, but we'll see.
All right, double altars here, both in the bottom portion of the battleground this time around. And it will be Zagara kind of hanging out at the top for the time being with Baylong responding. Looks like Sharsnik actually is going to stay up here, at least for the rest of this wave. Going to be a little bit late to that fight if she does rotate.
Yes, and this is going to be a team fight here with the early channel coming in from Washington. How will they respond? Mockingjay there just being an imposing presence with that beefcake on stitches. And the stitch hooks have to be in their mind. They have to be constantly thinking, when is that hook on cooldown? When should we go in? There was the missed hook, so now is the opportunity for them to not be afraid of that, not worried about getting picks, and can wade in.
big misplay by White Hero there, losing Balog in the top lane versus Zagara. Zagara's going to do a ton of damage there, and they're now missing that experience, and that's the whole benefit of Lost Vikings, is to have that omnipresence. And they just lost a fort as a result. They had to rotate Olaf up to the top lane. An entire bell tower has fallen, and it's, that's actually huge here for Washington.
That is a big situation. Of course, when the bell towers switch possession, those towers will then fight or shoot in your team's favor every time you cap an altar. So
that'll be 5 damage from this altar, channeled by Terra successfully. So a big pickup here. Washington taking a 1 damage lead on Towers of Doom.
Yeah, so if they can maintain possession of that tower, of course, that value just continues to escalate every altar possession. But right now we see White Hero there trying to capture it back by himself.
Man, 96-4.
That's rough.
That's just as good as my caster math of saying 1 damage lead.
Yeah. Washington turning their attention to these sappers. Again, trying to continue to put the siege damage pressure onto UC Irvine. That's tough. Multi-lane pressure with the Vikings is actually a really great strategy on their part, because Vikings are not very strong at kind of wave clear or
not
any
level
of the
10.
standard things.
Well, level 10, they start to get a little bit better when it comes to their actual team fight capability. Lane clear is pretty good with Balog, but only Balog. But we do see the sappers being escorted down here in the bottom. We do see they're going to throw themselves into this wall. Stitches actually gives them a nice little speed boost forward towards this bottom bell tower, and it's going to go down as well just before the top bell tower respawns on the side of UC Irvine. But both teams now have those heroic abilities.
Yeah, now this is a bad
the flank!
Oh, wow, look at that. So much health falling from I Like Pie. He does fall. Divine Shield does go out on Murden, but they're already a man down in this situation.
Yeah, that Putrid Bile, though, is getting some huge value and a nice hook there, but of course, that is Johanna, the healing ward of Karazim, getting huge use in that moment. Not a very common pickup, but in response to this style of play, absolutely love it, because Karazim knows he needs more area of effect healing.
That's right, and of course, we saw, whoa, so much damage coming from the Li Ming. That's those resets you want to be afraid of when she's got the Lost Vikings in her sight. But we saw the top tower fall for Irvine, followed by the bottom tower, and I think that's going to be the situation you're going to see. When we go to see Irvine go try to get the bottom bell tower back in their possession, the top one, they'll turn their attention back to that, and you'll see this back and forth situation happen. Here's iShiny, captain for Washington. Just great play, great leadership out of this guy thus far. On Thrall, you're going to be watching him work with Sundering as his heroic to basically get advantages out of this.
He's always playing those playmakers, Thrall, Greymane, like he's got such a shiny play style.
Yeah. He is shiny.
All right, Zagara trying to channel this bottom altar. I think she'll actually be able to do it successfully, as there's great peel on all sides. And that is going to be 5 damage once again done to the core of UC Irvine, bring them down to 22, nearly double the health left on the side of the core of Washington.
Now, Jake, Irvine's probably at this point starting to feel a little bit anxious about the situation. They are a bell tower down.
Yep.
They're losing altar after altar. How can they get back using the composition that they have? How can they get back in this game? What should they be thinking of?
It's really difficult. They need to get those hooks. They need to make that Stitches paired with like Lunara and Murden or something of that sort, and just find picks. If they can't pick off one hero going into an altar phase, I don't know if they can turn this around. But that's really what they have to do. That's their only utility that's going to give them the edge.
Good job by Irvine to take that bottom tower back in their possession. Meanwhile, Washington stands at the cusp of pushing on this front tower with the support of these sappers, and this is that situation. You got that tower back in your possession, but we're going to come attack the top tower again, and you're going to see this back and forth. And look at all the siege damage those sappers do if they can escort them to it.
All right, we do see Johanna going right on into the battle. A huge disintegration beam going out, and we do see Avatar with Divine Shield keeping Murden alive. Nice place here on the side of UC Irvine. Oh, the Baneling on the hook!
Yeah, that's intense. Good defense there by Irvine, though. They were able to basically thwart the attempt to take the capture of that tower back, so that was really great by them.
That's too risky.
We saw this in some of the early games in the round of 64. Proteges sometimes, as captain and shot caller for the team, can get a little bit antsy.
Yeah.
Like, come on, guys, we got to capitalize.
He was so far ahead of the rest of his team, and that's going to cost them. These altars, or just a single altar, kind of to the benefit of UC Irvine.
Yeah.
That's going to go to Washington.
For sure. And the altars are what counts. That's the game right there. So, we talk about it.
They're going for the boss, though, in response. They're trying to mitigate some of the damage done to their core to try to get forward damage delivered to the enemy side. And they're working on the Headless Horseman. Now, the Headless Horseman will do forward damage to the core of Washington, but doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think they need to be turning their attention.
No, Mockingjay, please don't die. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, you don't want to die to a boss like that, or even take a ton of damage to a boss like that.
Whew.
It sets you up for a bad scenario when the inevitable team fight happens. Of course, the XP story for this game is very even, but that's pretty traditional on a map like Towers of Doom. A little less sort of lane pushing strategy that tends to go on a map like this. But we see Washington just getting value out of these Merc camps. They're doing such a good job of capturing them and seeing them to their ultimate value. They already picked up that lower tower again.
Right. So they're actually looking for this flank because that Sapper camp they just picked up is 3 damage if they get on the core. A huge Thundering going out onto 2 targets into this bell tower they're currently controlling. I Like Pie going to be stunned out. The Divine Shield will get Blotty out, but Uther does go down.
Yeah, that's a bad situation here for Irvine. Once again, they are primed to get more value, and if they can get these sappers to the dead man zone here, they will go straight to damage on the course.
That's why they're escorting.
Yeah, 3 potential damage here, just escalating the speed at which they could win this game.
You can see that Lunara damage starting to kick in, though. She's really starting to chunk through the team as they line up. Great linear damage, so very low on the side, but the turnaround. Show you with the blow up on Lunara.
All 3 make their way. That's 3 more damage on the core. UC Irvine's core sitting at 15 health versus Washington's at 32. This is a rough situation here for Irvine. It's not completely unwinnable by them, but this is a bad situation. Baylog goes flying.
Oh, his shield
is a full-on yard sale. I think is what you call that.
He went for a bath at the end of that. He was just kind of laying in the sippy cup, having I mean, that's tainted water. You can't drink from that well anymore.
Viking water is not one's best water. All right, so tunnels have opened now. Tunnels are another interesting component on this battleground. It will allow you to move from your core, your base, essentially straight to the middle of the map. So it just provides another interesting opportunity for you to get back into the game quickly if you do happen to get taken out, or you do have to hearth back, get health, get mana. So interesting component here. Right now we see a single altar spawning in the bottom. How are these teams going to fight? We will most likely see Washington just decide to take it. Why not? They have all the opportunity here. They're both sitting at the same power tier at level 16.
Just Olaf isn't here in the fight. He's making his way down, but a big maw on 2. Disintegrate is doing a lot of damage. Look at this Lunara flank. Divine Palm is activated, but a beautiful damage done by Proteges.
Yep, absolutely. We saw the great synergy as well with Thrall Sundering coming out of the maul. They're just doing good play, but Shiny takes a ton of damage. The poison damage from Lunara, having him fall out of this fight, and they're going to have to retreat. And this is going to be an altar here for UC Irvine if they can continue to close.
Yeah, they're bringing it back, man. Huge damage from the longbow raid, doing so much to the side of Washington, but we do see Blotty just barely escaping. Li Ming trying to reset, does have to teleport back to safety. Now, that whole fight was made possible by the power of Lunara.
Dude,
That's the first time we've seen Proteges go, kind of unnoticed in the first portions of the fight, and he just did so much damage.
Yeah, he did. And Thrall, you saw it. It was like this reckoning where all of a sudden he was like, oh my gosh, my health bar. And then he trying to retreat, but absolutely couldn't. So nice pickup by them. Those are the kinds of scenarios we need to see out of Irvine to stay in this game, as they're slipping away from a positive situation here. 15 health on UC Irvine's core, 28 health on Washington's core, and we're sitting here in the late game.
Well, so that's actually something we should really talk about, Cloaken, is the fact that this isn't like all the other battlegrounds where if you actually do in fact grab a keep, you get catapults permanently. You get a guaranteed advantage. That doesn't exist here in Towers of Doom. And in theory, if you have 1 health remaining, you could still be in an exact even situation from the enemy team as long as you can win the team fights.
Yeah, it's the altars. As long as you can stop the altar cap, or and obviously keep an eye on the Mercs situation, not allow those Mercs to get to a place where they can deal damage to your core, you have control of this game. So it's not over until that core health hits 0 for these teams. But obviously, we were seeing solid play out of Washington and control of those altars, which makes all the difference. And Vikings getting value out of them in those team fights is a very tricky situation. Right now, nice thundering there out of Thrall. Shogun waiting in with the Condemn. Nice use of Blessed Shield, but still not a chance for the full team to capitalize. At this point, both teams just poking away at each other with health bars on the Washington side, looking not too good, but of course Monk going to be able to heal that up if given the time to. Right now we see the tower going back into possession for UC Irvine, so it is an even tower count right now. Oh, excuse me, I speak wrong. Washington still holds possession of the top tower. So
yeah, it is a nice big benefit for them. I mean, if they continue to hold that, they would only need to channel 3 in total to end this game out. But we do see, the rotations happening. The Vikings trying to spread out. Lunara being chased in the top. She's a little bit secluded. That's why we see Mockingjay making his way up to make sure they can support. But the attempted flank from the twins coming down from this top portion, going to be able to do a lot of damage here to Muradin.
Yeah, absolutely. Terror pushing down to this bottom lane as well.
That's big.
That is great for them.
Power of Vikings come into play finally.
Yeah, they sneak that tower, that altar right there, and now they can turn their attention to this middle altar.
But Li Ming is channeling it. Can she get it? The hook goes out, not in time. Oshoyu gets the capture and jukes the hook to boot.
Yeah, nice juke for sure. So still a rough situation here, but not out of it for Irvine yet. 25-10 is the core health count right now. Damage being done by Li Ming, and here comes the Putrid Bile by Mockingjay. They are looking for a team fight. Right now, Washington staying on the
Sundering got interrupted. That is massive, but the Maw on the longboat, right?
Maw, dude. Yeah, the boat is sitting inside the Zerg Maw, but so nice time out of that. So much damage though there. Nice Divine Palm on the Johanna. She does stay in this fight. Right. Sundering goes out again with a huge stun on all their team. Not really a chance to capitalize, but a chance to retreat.
Watch for the hook. There it goes, and it connects on Zagara, and that is a huge blow-up. Mockingjay with the plays. All right, Oshoyu will teleport away, but that is a big win, and now UC Irvine has the lead in experience.
Absolutely. This is looking good for them. As they push towards 20, they get some confidence, but they have a long hill to climb. They're not out of this game as we've talked about it, but 25 health versus 10. They really need to figure out how to start getting those altar fights, turning those team fights around the altar around. Surely they've been able to sneak a couple through the use of the Vikings, but that's not really the strategy you want to lean on. Like, stealth steals of altars is not really how you want that to look.
Well, at the end of the day, though, only 3 damage was done to Washington. Washington did, in fact, do a little bit more there because they got the 5 done. And let's take a look at Mockingjay now. He's making those plays. He's making those hooks happen when they matter most here in the late game.
Absolutely. His eyes are greedily on those low health pool heroes like Li Ming, but he also got the kill on Zagara just recently, right at the tail end of that fight. Right now we see 3 altars spawning. Now this is where it gets really, really crazy on this battleground because there's so much core damage potential available.
That is nightmarish.
Yeah.
It's like watching Mad Max, man. They're just diving in, saying, witness me, blowing everything up, and witness Thrall. Divine Palm will keep him alive, but the body blocks, the devastation, eyes shiny, even going to use Sundering in desperation.
Yeah, that's not when you want to use your
heroics. No, but he bought enough time. That got channeled.
Yeah, that.
Oh no! Mockingjay, stop, calm down.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. So he bought the time to get the altar channel there, which works really well for them. They now sit very close to game here. If they can get 2 more altars or an altar and the boss, some other scenario, they do clinch this game. Washington stands on the cusp of victory right now. Waiheroh there trying to get an altar spawn, and he does do that. So 1 altar remains in this opportunity, this 3-wave altar spawn. Waiheroh there trying to channel it as well with the use of another one of his Vikings, and it looks like they're going to let him have it.
Yeah, so this is such an interesting situation. We're now down to 17 health on the side of Washington. They're still much healthier than UC Irvine, but UC Irvine is looking so much more confident in the late game. They've enabled themselves to pick up a boss. This will bring Washington down to 13, and honestly, it's anyone's game.
Yeah. And it's interesting, the whole Li Ming battery thing. I haven't seen that really coming into play. We've seen smart play out of Waiheroh there with his Vikings. He knows that that's a risk, and I think he's done a really good job of keeping that from happening.
All right, so we do have those level 20 Storm talents now being picked up. And this kind of changes the dynamic a little bit. We can see Lunara be really, really greedy with Galloping Gate at level 20.
Yes.
Massive movement speed boost that he can activate. So we've seen Proteges be a critical part of turning some of these fights around. Like, Lunara has been like one of the playmakers in the series in general, and this just gives him that additional option to go ham with the flanks.
Waiheroh there, all Vikings grouped up right now for full damage potential. And yeah, we're seeing Irvine brace themselves for this next altar wave. They realize that their life is hanging in the balance right now as this game is teetering on the cusp of victory for Washington. But let's point out they're just 3 altar caps as well for victory on the Irvine side.
Beautiful invade here onto this mercenary camp, and we do see the Vikings are rotating down, maybe potentially looking to pop out that longboat, but they turn around when they see the flank happening. Split focus here. We see Sharsnake getting very low. The Sundering does almost nothing, and Waiheroh there can still pop that longboat raid, but the Maw will kill at least 1 Viking.
Yes, absolutely. Sharksnick is falling dangerously low, but they do take out Li Ming, excuse me, in this fight already, followed by Zagara. This is looking great for Irvine.
Yeah, this is huge. I don't believe it, Cloaken. I mean, they're turning this around. Oshogun actually going to get slowed by that poison and the Stormbolt with Piercing Bolt doing a ton of damage. They're following up, and the hook after the Hammer of Justice. Indestructible is popped.
This is intense, man. I can't believe they're bringing it back with these team fights. They're just getting the better hand in these late game team fights, which could provide the window of opportunity for them to take this game. They have full control over that altar spawn if they can keep the pressure here in the lower lane.
That's the first bell tower they've killed too.
Yeah,
and that's kind of a big deal. So now they're the ones actually controlling, having the vision, forcing Washington to be the team that's responding to the control on the map. And we have just the single Viking being down here. This is like when they can really abuse the power of Lost Viking.
Yeah, so 5 points of damage going to get captured by why hero there, but why
Why hero there?
Why hero?
Why hero? There you go.
You want those. That's the damage on the core. That's victory right there. So there we go. Finally captured.
Oh,
nice work, buddy. Okay, can Irvine stay in this game? It's getting closer and closer. 6-8 right now. 2 altar caps away for either team. They are actually on equal footing right now with actually a tower in the side of Irvine.
This is what esports is all about, baby. Well, we do see this bottom sapper camp being picked up, and that's where they control the bell tower. This could be 3 damage. They're going to look to escort this camp down into that bottom lane. In theory, they could grab the other sapper camp and try to do 6 damage in the bottom lane, but that's why you see such a big presence in the bottom. Yeah, I don't know if it's worth pushing in, but they are. Yeah, they are going to do it.
They're going in. This could be a full-on engage here with their team. They do want that core damage. They want to continue to climb back into this fight. But look at that, so many banelings.
They've got the creep to control that flank, so they know they're not being flanked upon. But there's a wisp there as well. Hook does not connect. 16 seconds on that ability before it's ready to be cast again.
Tower's about to fall,
and the damage has been dealt with.
Yeah,
good defense by Washington.
Nice defense indeed, and they are going to get that tower back, which then puts them on even footing for altar spawns and core damage that could happen right now. Why hero they're just continuing to soak lanes. You know, I think just control that lane and keep his Viking in a safe scenario. Obviously, at this point, once they've capped past 20, no huge power spikes available, though you do see normal hero scaling every level that you do turn over.
You do still get the additional stats, which is definitely nice, but it's not the same. We do see Sundering going out in the bottom. Lunara gets blown up immediately. Protege's a bit out of position. The Blessed Shield on 3 to follow up, and that's Bloody taking so much.
He has to get this Divine Shield. Nice work by him to stay alive, but that is not what you want. You want to be using those in direct, full-on team fights. So this is going to put Irvine on the back foot in a big way. Right now we see Washington deciding to turn their attention to Mercs. These are core damage if they can't escort, or just good siege damage to take control of that tower.
Oh no, this is likely going to be it. It's going to be such a hard defense for UC Irvine. We do see they've constantly gone out of their way to find Proteges and punish him for being a little bit too aggressive. And even with Galloping Gate at level 20, he could not escape the power of Sundering. If 2 of these altars are picked up by Washington, the game will end, and they are in position with Zagar at the bottom one, with all this creep spread and the rest of the team sitting at the top right altar.
Yeah, and Washington's heroics are going to be up off cooldown. Sundering coming back at 20, and then we have to find shield down for
Eric is running.
40.
Eric is running. He's trying to get there in time, and he does stall this out. This is a big deal. This keeps them in the game. Both of the 2 top altars have been channeled. 1 damage left. Oh no, they did it.
Yeah, that was it.
I didn't math it enough.
Yeah, the maths, man, were real right now. Washington pulls it out over Irvine on a pretty tight scenario there. Those 3 altar spawns, it's a lot. You can't kind of split your eyes into 3 locations. It's very difficult to do. But congratulations to Washington. They do take that game over Irvine and the series. They are going to advance now to the Epic 8.
Well deserved. We can tell that training really did pay off for them in this matchup. But UC Irvine, they've really brought it back in the second game. First pick, Lost Vikings. We saw the Vikings constantly being used to bait the enemy team. Thrall stepping too far forward. This first kill really gave a nice confident boost to UC Irvine and allowed them to get their feet nicely planted in this game.
Yep, and we just saw it continue as we see Irvine trying to make some aggression happen, but then outplayed Lunara getting a little out of position, and of course such a fragile hero. But then we saw that aggressive push by Washington in the lower lane where they just were going all in. And in the hooks, there you saw that one on Zagara. That was a really big turning point for UC Irvine, where they got their foot back in the game and crawled back in. And it was actually looking like it could have fallen to their favor, and I gotta give them credit. I did not think that was possible given the draft and what we saw. But
I didn't believe, but now I'm a believer. Thanks, UC Irvine.
Yeah, good job, Irvine. Obviously, great job getting this far in the tournament. We look forward to seeing you guys continuing your run in Here's the Dorm, all of your work. We do have an opportunity for an interview with Ice Shiny on the side of Washington. Let's see if Brian is available. Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on your victory yet again in the Super
Thank
16. How are you feeling? How's your team feeling right now?
We're a little shaken up after that last game, but we're feeling pretty good.
What an interesting game. What were you guys thinking when you saw the draft? They led so strong out of the gate with the Vikings pick. Were you guys just like, what? Like, what was your response? I'm curious to hear.
We honestly just had no idea what they were doing. I guess we kind of disrespected it a little bit and didn't really expect the amount of experience soak that the Vikings would pull against our team fight com.
Yeah, I got to be honest. We as well were just like, wow, what an interesting thing to show even in your first pick in the draft. It felt really bold. It felt really like maybe they have just some mysterious thing that we aren't aware of. But we knew it would be an uphill climb for them. But like you, we were impressed at their ability to do that. What was it that turned it around for your team in that game? What was it that made you? Because obviously you were looking very strong on the front side, and then it felt like they battled back. They got back into the game. How did you guys wrest control of it in the end there?
I think we just pulled ourselves a large enough lead in the beginning that we were able to scrape on by at the very end. The call at the very end obviously was just to kill the Lunar, win the game. Just had to land those Thunders, and I just could not get them in the mid-game. But pulled it off at the very end.
You know, I'm actually curious, were you going out of your way to pick and try to draft against Protojays? Because it kind of felt that way, especially in game number 2.
Yeah, the leeming was to take it off of Protojays, and then we threw in the BM Jaina ban as well, just to see what else he would pull out.
Yeah, we saw that. We were like, huh.
We kind of just wanted to pull him off of his comfort and shot calling.
Oh, it definitely worked for you guys. So, well, definitely worth the effort.
Well, congratulations to you and your team. And, of course, we wish you all the best as you move on tomorrow to the Epic 8. The run continues for Washington. Good luck out there with your practice, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
So the grudge deepens.
It does. The grudge deepens, man. I mean, that was an epic song that just blew up in my ear. I loved it. But no, seriously, I really can't wait to see what they can do tomorrow. Going into the round of 8, some really phenomenal play here today, busting out some six strats. And we didn't even get to see iShiny playing on his Greymane.
Yeah, I know. That, because we could be in for more of that tomorrow.
Yeah, we know it's scary.
It is scary, for sure. And always fun to watch that hero doing work. So we will be back. We have another awesome matchup for you. Let's take a look at the schedule for the rest of the day. LSU, Bob Ross Fight Club versus Tennessee Wheat Ballin'. I think that's the first game we'll have casted with Tennessee. Some strong players there. We're really excited to see that. And then followed up, Jaycie Tim will be back for UConn Tricky Turtles versus Ohio State third string, followed by East Carolina Q-Build Brightwing Audition Crew going up against Minnesota Banana Cabana, and then UPenn Team Dayan versus Arizona State Real Dream Team. And we even have another match after that. There's actually tons of games.
Tons of action coming throughout the day, but of course tomorrow it will continue with the Epic 8 starting at 2 p.m. Eastern. So a little bit better for the gamers that like to wake up a little bit later in the day.
Exactly. You don't have those early morning games. But all right, so let's talk a little bit about the live finals. They're going to be happening on April 9th and 10th at the Seattle CenturyLink Event Center. It's going to be an amazing event. Last year was incredible, and
the energy was actually insane. Like last year, I was working on the production side of things, and I remember being in a truck outside of the building and hearing the crowd just exploding with energy. Because honestly, Heroes of the Dorm, it is just so epic. So if you can be there, you definitely should.
Yeah, there's general admission still available. It's completely free, so we'd love to see you turn out. And of course, we do have those priority seating tickets available just for $15. You can find out more information over at here'sthedorm.com. Stick with us. We have a lot more to come for you today on this Super 16. We'll be right back.